Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Honestly, Monday was a little light coming off the Super Bowl. A lot of people were at the game and then not really doing any business on Monday. A couple things were announced, including Amy Poehler announced a podcast. I didn't see anything from Kevin Hart. I'm surprised. I guess he was celebrating the Eagles' victory. Tom Brady did take a shot at Kevin during the broadcast, during the blowout part. Somebody mentioned Kevin Hart, and Brady said, "Kevin Hart's here? How do the cameras find Kevin Hart?" Making fun of Kevin Hart's height. You may recall that Kevin Hart went after Tom Brady at the roast of Tom Brady. Kevin Burkhardt responded, "Well, depends on the day, I guess." Brady then probably realized people were like, "Why is he going after Kevin Hart?" and said, "Kevin, I love you. You took so many shots at me in May. I'm coming right back at you." It was a little awkward. Nikki Glaser was there. I didn't see any news about Nikki Glaser, but I saw a mention that she was out and about. I think Jim Gaffigan was there. Did I see Jim, or was that just in a commercial? But I thought I saw Jim there. Shane Gillis was hanging out with Zach Bryan, the musician, all weekend. They met Donald Trump. There's a photo of that. No details about the meeting. Zach and Shane did a surprise pop-up concert. Saturday night, they did a surprise show at the Saturn Bar in New Orleans. Zach announced the show on social media. A crowd immediately formed. No details on Shane's set. Zach Bryan, in case you're curious, played his hits. He also revealed on Instagram he had dropped a song called Dear Miss if the Eagles won the Super Bowl. On social media, he had written, "If the Birds win the bowl, Dear Miss is out the next day. See ya all in NOLA. Shane Gillis and me might do a pop-up and get rowdy somewhere. I love you guys." Let me see if that song came out. I'm on my phone here as of 12:16 p.m. on Monday. He has not released the song on Apple Music anyway. Pete Davidson was there, hanging out with Miles Teller. Pete showed up wearing a gray long-sleeve t-shirt with Eagles writing on the front. Pete rolled up his sleeves and showed his nearly tattooless arms. Page 6 shared, boy, that's hard to say, a story about Pete Davidson's commercial. Apparently, he arrived at the set of the commercial early, shook hands, and was a total pro. He had the crew cracking up the whole time, says the insider. The relationship with Pete and Gordon Ramsay was great from the start, but warmed up even more once we started shooting and Pete cracked some jokes. It seemed like Pete was gauging how playful he could get with Gordon. In a statement, Pete Davidson said, "Making this Super Bowl spot with Gordon Ramsay was awesome. We had a great time on set joking about aliens, which inspired my final line. We riffed a lot, and I was trying to get Gordon to break with something outrageous. I think we pulled it off." Adam Sandler was at the Super Bowl. He made a prediction that the Jets would appear in Super Bowl 60. Good luck with that one. Out on Netflix today, Felipe Esparza's Raging Fool. In Raging Fool, Felipe explores the trials and tribulations of navigating complicated family dynamics, marriage, cultural divides, infidelity, and more. It's his second special for Netflix. As I mentioned at the top, Amy Poehler announced a podcast. I guess she wants to ride the wave of the SNL press that we're going to hear this week. I'm already tired of SNL. We've barely started. A lot of Lorne Michaels articles today that just didn't interest me enough to share on the pod. This one is called Good Hang with Amy Poehler. It'll be out in March. Some of the mainstream media seems to have forgotten that Amy Poehler had a podcast called Say More with Dr. Sheila. I guess they're positioning this one as the first one that Amy Poehler is doing as Amy Poehler. Who knows? The Monterey County Now was curious why Whitney Cummings is touring so much. She said, "I love debunking what I believe is the myth that we're all so divided. You get in a room with 2,000 people that don't know each other and we're all laughing about the same stuff. We're all seeing reality the same." She talked about becoming a mother in 2023. "I'm just excited to sort of catch up to all the women who are like, yeah, we had kids at 30, weirdo." That's funny. Whitney continued, "I think the value of making somebody laugh when I started was more superficial. Now we've entered the time where making people laugh is harder to do, which is a good thing. I think pressure on comics adds to the bar being higher quality. That's positive evolution. I think as comics, we represent the in-between. We represent the no loyalty to anyone. We're going to make fun of both sides. We're going to defend the indefensible, even if it's just a thought exercise to remind everybody that we don't all have to think the same way." Jake Tapper asked Amber Ruffin about hosting the White House Correspondents Dinner. Jake asked Amber if she's going to walk the line, and she says, "I think I'm going to do it the same way I always do it, by just telling the truth about how I feel. It's okay to say what's making us feel sad at the moment, and I think when you do that and people feel the same way as you, they think that it's fun and funny and it's good to hear, and it's kind of where I operate from." Tapper asked Amber if she wants Trump to show up. She replied, no one wants that. I mean, sure, it's something to do. Look, I can't imagine he would. He should. He's missing out on one of the cool things about being president of the United States, but I don't know that anyone's looking forward to being in the same room as him. I don't know, half the room's Republicans. They seem to like Trump. Tapper brought up the theory that Trump decided to run when he was mocked by President Obama and Seth Meyers in 2011. Tapper said, "It's the Trump origin story. Does that give you any pause when it comes to choosing your targets this year?" Amber said, "Yeah, I'm a writer on Late Night. Seth Meyers is a friend of mine. He got us into this mess. It's his fault. When you're looking for somebody to blame my boss." But no, he did what he had to do. It can't be your job to razz people, and then this man comes along and it's like, "I'm going to be president." You have to laugh, and I mean, ultimately, joke's on us, right? I've been meaning to mention this. I thought it was odd that there were no Chappelle think pieces after Dave winning the Grammy. In previous years, it would be all kinds of things about cancel culture, Dave, and punching down and all that. I guess everybody has said it already, and there's nothing new to say about it, but I was surprised I didn't see a single article about that. I mentioned yesterday, Slate has an article titled, "Whatever Happened to Amy Schumer?" I'm not here to beat up on Amy. The paragraph I think is worth sharing is the one where they wrote, "In the years between 2013 and 2016, while Amy Schumer was starring in and co-writing the Comedy Central sketch show, she seemed like an exciting new presence on the comedy landscape with her blunt honesty about the near universal female body shame induced by Hollywood's brutal beauty standards, or her keen ear for the way women talk to each other when no men are present. For a few years there, Schumer was everywhere, hosting award shows, getting coffee in cars with Jerry Seinfeld, and winning an Emmy and a Peabody for Inside Amy Schumer." Now, let me jump in there. I'll mention two comedians that I feel like they need to tap the brakes. Jim Gaffigan needs to tap the brakes. Just disappear for a couple months, Jim. The other one, Nikki Glazer, not so much as Jim, but as I read that Amy sentence, let me back up again. Schumer was everywhere, hosting award show, getting coffee in cars with Jerry, winning an Emmy and a Peabody. I think Nikki is a little too visible right now. Maybe disappear for a month or two. Anyway, the Slate piece wraps up with "Netflix is kind of pregnant, misunderstands what once made the comedian so appealing." Nouveau caught up with Rachel Feinstein and asked her about her comedy origin story. She said a lot of comedy clubs do these things called bringer shows, and it's a way that they can make money to get people in the seats. So she put me on that, and that did get me seen by a few other real professional comics. At one of my first bringer shows, Jeff Ross came and saw me, and the family that I nannied for came. I did a lot of stories about their kids because that's what my life was at that point. I bombed less. I was not drunk, but I was still not good and still aimlessly rambling. But there was something in it that Jeff Ross saw in me that he felt confident enough to recommend me for an audition at a real comedy club. That's cool. So that really helped me and get me my first paid spot, which I remember was such an insane feeling. Towards the end of my run at SiriusXM, we actually had Rachel co-hosting the morning show. And she was really good at it. And I thought that show had a lot of potential. But the bosses were like, "We already have a morning show. It's called Howard Stern." Well, you know what happens? Time goes by and suddenly Howard Stern's 70. And you probably wish you had, grown a show, guys. Rachel would have been good, but she seems fine without hosting a radio show. Oh, speaking of that, I was catching up on Tom Papa's podcasts. I meant to, I'll do it here. I know this makes no sense to you. So my script is over now, but also, today's a little light, but when I finish recording here, I'll leave you with Gaffigan and Papa doing some inside baseball stuff that I thought was pretty interesting. So I'll pull that now, and that's what we'll go out with. I also listened to Papa with Attell and Papa with Paul Reiser. They were all good. The first half of Gaffigan on Papa's podcast is really strong if you're into like this sort of stuff that we cover here. Then once they started about food and whiskey, it fell off a cliff a bit. But let me pull that stuff. So here's what I'm babbling about.
Do you ever look for crazy signs where like, oh, this is where it comes to an end? Yeah, this is the boom is over. I did today. Really? What was it? This is a delight. It looks like we're drinking. I thought he was. That's what it is. That's what it is. No, I had it today because I was on Instagram when I got to the hotel, Bragger. And just as a viewer, and I saw 3 really established good comics, all with their videos of, "Hey, everybody, my tour just came out. We got a whole bunch of dates, and they're all going up." And it seems like right now, everybody's got the same game plan. Yeah, and they're all going to the same places, and they're all seeming to have to push a little bit more. Yes, because there was that post-pandemic. The immediacy after the post-pandemic where people are like, "I got to get out of the house." Now people are like, "I've been out of the house." Yeah, I've seen some stand-up. I've seen them. And yeah, do you think it's that? Do you think but there's the other part where you talk to people and they're like, no, bands aren't going out and selling anymore. It's comedians. And the blessing is your fans who know and love you are coming to see you. You have your tribe. And that's very different from A, B, C comedian. Like there's not a lot of crossover. And that is your comedy news for today. If you enjoy the program, tell a friend about it. They might like it too. See you here tomorrow.